platform independence in Java? Why Java is called as platform independence?
Yes, Java is called as platform independent because you can compile your program on one machine and you can run your program on different machines. That means you can compile your program on Windows machine where your Java file gets converted into .class file, and as far as JVM is installed on Linux or Mac OS, you can take your class file from Windows machine and run on Linux or Mac machine. That is the reason it is platform independent, and it is known as write once, run anywhere.
Okay. What is the difference between JDK, JRE, and JVM?
JDK is known as Java Development Kit. If you want to compile your program and run your program, that means developers want to compile their program, debug their program, then you need JDK. And when you are giving this program to clients and they only want to run your program, in that case, you will have JRE. And JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine, which takes your bytecode and interprets your bytecode, and sometimes it converts your bytecode into machine code with the help of JIT. So JDK is used for doing the development of your Java related projects. JRE is where you want to run your program, and JVM is the actual virtual machine which takes your bytecode and interprets and runs your program. So that is about JDK, JRE, and JVM.
Okay. So let us consider I have a string. Okay, I'm declaring a string variable string s equal to new string of Sachin. Okay, I have created a string by using new keyword with Sachin as a value. Okay. Then I am declaring one more string, string s1 equal to Sachin in double quotes.
Okay.
Now I have two strings. Okay. Can you tell me if I write s dot equals s1, what will be the output?
If s dot equals is written, then the output will be true. Because it does actual matching of the string, which is Sachin.
Okay. And what if I write s equal to s1? What will happen?
It will return false, because in the first case you wrote s equal to new Sachin, in which case the string got created in heap, and in the second case it is literal. That means these are two different instances of string, one in the heap and one in the permgen. So equal to will return false.
Okay, fine. Do you have any idea about garbage collection?
Garbage collection, yes. In Java, we do not allocate or deallocate memory. It is done automatically by your JVM. So garbage collection is a mechanism when the object is no longer referenced from your either stack or heap, and the object becomes referenceless. That means it is not referenced from anywhere. At that stage, the garbage collection runs after some frequency, and it garbage collects your object after certain duration, and that object will be deleted from your heap memory. So this is known as garbage collection in Java.
Okay, so can I run the garbage collection forcefully?
There is one API that gives instruction to initiate the garbage collection, but you cannot forcefully run it. Even if you give the instruction, it will take its own time, and it will run according to itself. So you cannot forcefully run, but you can give instruction or hints to the JVM to run the garbage collection.
Okay, fine. Can you tell me the contract between equals and hash code method which are used in collections?
Okay, you want to know the contract between these two methods?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a contract. If two objects, when consider an example where I have two employees, emp1 and emp2, and emp1 dot equals emp2 returns me true. That means when I call equals on emp1 and pass emp2, it returns true. So whenever two objects are equal, their hash codes have to be same. But the reverse is not true. That means whenever two objects having same hash code, the equal might return true or might return false. That means whenever two objects are equal, then hash codes have to be exactly same. But whenever two objects have the same hash code, that does not mean that both objects are equal. So this is the contract.
Okay, fine. What is the difference between abstract class and interface? And can you tell me when we should go for abstract class and when we should go for interface?
Yes, abstract class is where you have some abstract methods in the class, and if there is a relationship between your classes, then you can go for abstract class. But if there is certain feature where there is no relationship between the classes, then you have to go for interface. And by default, all the methods in the interface are abstract. But going forward in Java 8, there's a feature where you can write default methods in your interface. So just to summarize, you can go for abstract class when there is a relationship, a parent-child relationship, or a superclass subclass relationship. And then you can go for abstract class. And if there is no such relationship between the objects, then you can go for interface.
Okay, so which version of Java you are using? Is it JDK?
I am using Java 8 in my project.
Okay, so do you know what are the features which are available in Java 8?
Yes, I know. There is the feature of Lambda, there's feature of streams, then we have functional interfaces, then we have default methods, and these are some of the features introduced in Java 8.
Okay, so let us consider I have a list of numbers. Okay, that list you can consider it as I have 10 numbers in that list. Okay, all numbers are integer numbers.
Okay.
And I have to filter the list in such a way that the list should return only numbers which are greater than 20.
Okay.
So if integer is if the number is greater than 20, then you have to return that number. Okay. Can you tell me how to do it in Java?
Right. I can try to use streams here. Suppose the name of the list is numbers. What I can do is numbers dot stream. I can get the stream out of it, and then I can call filter method with the predicate, which is your number is greater than 10. And then finally, I can call the collect method and use collectors dot to list, where I'm going to collect the results in the form of list, where all the numbers will be greater than 10. So this is how I will achieve this.
Okay. So how do you handle exceptions in Java?
There is a mechanism of try catch. I can surround my code with try, and whenever some exception occurs, the catch will be called, which is just below the try. So using try catch, I can handle the exceptions.
Okay. So can I use multiple catch blocks with a single try block?
Yes, you can use multiple catch block with a single try block in Java. That is allowed.
Okay. So is there any order which I need to follow, or I can write any kind of exception at any order?
There is some order that you have to follow. You have to catch the more specialized exception first, and below that you have to handle more generalized exception. Example, if you are handling arithmetic exception, then you have to handle arithmetic exception first, and then you have to handle the exception class object. That means arithmetic exception first and then the exception. So you have to handle specialized version first and then the generalized version. So this is the rule while having multiple catch blocks.
Okay. Okay, fine. So do you have experience on Spring and Spring Boot as well, right?
Yes, I have experience in Spring and Spring Boot both.
Okay. Can you tell me what is a dependency injection and what is inversion of control in Spring?
Yes, I'll try to explain dependency injection, where consider an example. You have an employee class, and employee has address. So whenever you try to create employee class, your address should also be created and should be injected in that employee object. So this is known as dependency injection, where the object having dependency are injected automatically from outside. This is known as dependency injection or DI.
And what about IOC?
IOC is known as inversion of control. Inversion of control means instead of you creating object yourself, in a classic manner, what we do employee equal to new employee. We use new keyword ourselves in the program. But when we go with the Spring framework does this for us. Spring creates the employee object, and when you ask for the employee object, it gives you reference to that employee object. That means the control is inverted from you creating object to Spring creating objects. So this is known as inversion of control.
Okay. What is application context and bin factory in Spring?
Application context and bin factory both are containers, but there are few differences. Bin factory only allows to do wiring and to create objects, but application context can do wiring and create objects along with few more things. Application context has bin post processor, it has bin factory post processor, then you can do internationalization, and also you can handle application events. So you can say bin factory is the simple version where you can achieve dependency injection, but you can't go or you can't do more advanced operations in Spring. But with application context, you can do dependency injection, you can get inversion of control along with bin post processor, bin factory post processor, internationalization, and event handling. So that's about bin factory and application context.
Okay. Do you know different types of injections?
There are two types of injection. One is known as setter injection, and one is known as constructor injection. Setter injections are done using set method of the field, and constructor injection is done using your actual constructor call. So Spring calls your constructor and does the injection in case of constructor injection.
Okay. Do you know AOP, aspect oriented programming in Spring?
Aspect oriented programming, yes, I know aspect oriented programming, and I can say aspect oriented programming is used to solve your cross cutting concerns. Example, when cross cutting concerns comes into picture, you can think of logging. We do logging and we have to go and write code in each and every file of your project. And if I want to change some configuration of your logging, then I have to go and modify all the files in my project. So instead of handling this cross-cutting concern in this manner, what we do, we write aspects where whatever you have to log is outside your classes and it is not written in your classes. That means you can go and change the configuration at one place and it will get reflected in all the classes where your point cuts or join points are applied.
Okay, fine. So how do you handle transactions in your Spring project?
There is one abstraction known as platform transaction manager. I take help of platform transaction manager to commit or roll back my transaction on the underlying JDBC connection.
Okay. Okay, let's move to the Spring Boot. So can you tell me why we should use Spring Boot?
Spring Boot. In Spring, there are various configurations that we have to do manually. Spring Boot, as the name suggests, it bootstraps all those configurations for us, and it makes really very simple to create your Spring Boot application. So it provides production grade application, and you can quickly go and create production grade application and deploy it. So that is the reason we use Spring Boot.
Okay. So what are the annotations which you have used in your Spring Boot application?
I have used @REST controller for my Spring Boot application, and I have used various annotations like get mapping, put mapping, and post mapping in my REST controller to handle get, push, put, and post requests.
Okay. So what is the difference between post mapping and put mapping?
Post mapping and put mapping. If you want to create a new object or there is a request for creating new object, then you can go for post, and if you want to update the object, then you generally go for put.
Okay. You have mentioned microservices as well in your resume. So do you have idea about microservices or you are just learning it?
I have idea about microservices. I have used it in my project. Microservices is where you divide your monolithic application into multiple small services, and your microservice revolves around one functionality. So consider an example, you have to design Amazon.com. In theory, you have 3 microservices. One is for buyers, one is for seller, and one is for payment. So this is how we divide the functionality around microservices.
What is API gateway? Do you know?
API gateway is the entry point for your microservices, where you can handle all the common concerns like authentication, your authorization. You can do it at the API gateway level. And one of the most famous API gateway is Zool. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know the discovery server?
Can you repeat that again?
Yes. So do you know a discovery server?
Yeah, service discovery. Yes. Suppose I want to know one service wants to know about another service. At that point, I can take help of discovery service. And Consul and Eureka are two discovery services in the market. I have used both of them. So take an example where your buyer service wants to take help of your payment service. In order to get the URL of payment service, what I do is I call discovery service and I ask for the URL. The discovery service, which is either Consul or Eureka, gives me the URL, and then I can hit the endpoint of the payment service. So that is discovery service.
Okay. Okay, fine. In database, do you know asset properties?
Yes.
Asset properties?
Yes.
Yeah.
Asset is about atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. This is the full form of ACID. Atomicity is where your transaction should either complete fully or should roll back. It shouldn't happen that part of transaction is completed and some part is not completed. So that is atomicity. Consistency, where before the transaction and after the transaction, the result should be consistent. That means if the balance is 400 and I'm adding 200 to it, then the result should be 600. So that's about consistency. Isolation is where if multiple transactions are running in parallel, then all those transactions should not see the effect of each other. That is isolation. And finally, the durability. Durability is where if you commit the transaction, that should be permanently stored in your database. And if the database server stops and restarts, the changes should still be there.
Okay. Which database you are using in your application?
I'm using MySQL in my project.
And then from my side, do you have any question for me?
Yes, I just want to know about the project technology stack.
The project for which we are hiring includes including Spring Boot, Microservices, and we have Oracle database.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And
what
about the results? When will I get the results?
Yeah, actually, you will get results from HR. So I will share my feedback with HR, and HR will get back to you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, fine. Let us consider I have to sort some elements. So you might have idea about comparable or comparator interface, right?
Yes, I have idea about comparator.
So can you tell me when we should go for comparable and when we should go for comparator?
Yes, when you want to do natural ordering. So for example, natural ordering is 1, 2, 3, 4 for numbers, A, B, C, D for your characters. In that case, I'll go for comparable. And if I want to do custom ordering, in that case, I'll go for comparator. And your comparable has compare to method, and your comparator has compare method. So in short, for natural ordering, I'll go for comparable interface, and for multiple custom ordering, I'll go for comparator interface.
Okay, fine. Do you know marker interface?
Marker interface is the one that does not have any method present in it, and it is used to provide hints to JVM, but there is no method present in the marker interface.
Okay, so if there is no method available inside your marker interface, then what is the use of marker interface?
Marker interface is used to provide hints while you are coding. Suppose you are coding, you are trying to You want to check if the object has permission to do something. In that case, if your object implements permission interface, which will be a marker interface, then you will allow to perform certain operation. And if your object or class does not implement the permission interface, then you will not allow that class to do that operation.
Okay. Okay, fine. Do you know serialization?
Yes, I have worked on serialization. Yes.
So, what is the use of serialization?
Serialization is when you convert your object into byte stream. So if you want to convert the object in the heap into a byte stream, then I'll use serialization from Java.
Okay. So, do you know serial version UID, which we normally use in serialization?
Yes. So suppose there is a class and there are 3 or 4 fields in that class. So based on the information about that field, the data types of the field and the name of the fields, the serial version UID is generated by your Java utility. So serial version UID represents the metadata about your class, and if you change the class, the serial version UID will be changed.
Okay, fine. So I guess we are good with Java. Let's move to the Spring Boot. Okay. So can you tell me how do you monitor your Spring Boot application?
Monitoring Spring Boot we monitor our Spring Boot applications using Actuator. There is something called as Actuator, which provides a very good idea of how the application is performing, or what are the errors that are occurring in the application, what resources is consuming at the moment. So we use Actuator for monitoring our Spring Boot applications.
Okay, fine. Suppose your application is not performing or not working as expected. Okay. So it may be happening that your application is down, or maybe it may happen that your application functionality is broken. So in that case, you need to check the logs, right? So how do you check the logs?
We check the logs using Splunk. So there is a concept of forwarder. So whenever there is some problem with the application, the forwarder forwards the error to the Splunk, and then Splunk provides one URL on which you can go and hit the URL from your browser, and you can get logs. And there is also filter criteria. If you want to just look at errors, you want to skip warning, you can do that with Splunk. So Splunk is increasing the capacity of your machine. So for example, if your machine is running 8 GB of RAM, and if your application wants more memory, in that case you will go and replace that 8 GB with the 16 GB RAM. So, and then if it needs even more memory, then you will go and replace 16 GB with 32 GB RAM. So this is vertical scaling. Now horizontal scaling is where your application is running on 8 GB machine, and if you want to scale horizontally, at that stage what you will do, you will add one more 8 GB machine, and there will be 2 instances of your running application. And if you want even more memory, then you can add third machine, which is of 8 GB. So you will have 3 machines which are of 8 GB. So this is how we achieve horizontal scaling.
Okay. So how do you deploy your applications if you are scaling your application horizontally?
Okay, deployment, we generally deploy using Tomcat. So as it is a Spring Boot application, it has embedded Tomcat. So every application is a standalone application with its own URL. So we use Tomcat for deploying the applications.
Okay. So you must be using application.properties or application.yaml file to mention the properties, right?
Yes, we are using in some application we are using application.properties, and in some application we are using application.yaml.
Okay. Okay, fine. So can you tell me when we should use application.properties or when we should go for application.yaml? Which one should be used?
I'll generally, when there are a lot of embedded properties, for example, a.b.c.d. So these are embedded properties where D lies after A, B, and C. So here I'll go for YAML, because I'll write A, then below that using tab character or tab structure, B, then C, and finally D. And if there are multiple properties below C, then I can just go and add the properties. With application.properties file, you have to repeat the entire prefix structure again and again. So you have to write a.b.c.d, a.b.c.e, So where there is a lot of repetition. So if there is a lot of repetition, I'll go for YAML.
Okay. Okay, you have mentioned microservices as well in your series. So do you have a work hands-on